A brief message from your friendly neighborhood editing Jordan. We tend to try to keep things pretty PG-13 around here, but this is an improv podcast. So, who knows what we're going to say. Sometimes we throw in some swearing, some sexual content, and some violence. So, as a general warning, viewer discretion is advised. Also to be noted, the opinions stated about a certain tabletop role-playing game are just that, our opinions. We love the game and we like talking about it. So, any criticisms are really just all in good fun. That being said, wizards, please hire us. All right, with that out of the way, let's get on with the show.
Ooh, recording in progress.
Still can't hear it. Okay, guys, so important, very, very important question. Your answers will change what I think of you.
Yeah, okay.
Fuck, marry, kill, Jason, Michael Myers, or Freddy Krueger.
Marry Michael Myers, for sure. Instant marry. Do I have to explain myself, or is that good enough?
I'll see how the rest of yourself. Yeah.
See, it's a toughie after that. But Michael Myers, marry for sure, just because, like, they're reliable, they're dependable, they're always there, and, you know, they're sturdy.
Well, I think you could say the same things about Jason, though.
I don't think you can.
Okay.
Plus, Jason's a mama's boy.
Well, doesn't that just make it better?
No! You've made my mind up for me. Kill Jason.
You're gonna frick Freddy Krueger?
I thought it was Freddy Fazbear, sorry. That changes everything.
Okay, that's worse because never mind.
I'm gonna marry Freddy Krueger, frick Jason so he can do the in my ear, and kill Michael Myers. Because he's like an unkillable guy, so I'm just gonna kill him, right?
You're just ridding the world.
No. And Freddy Krueger, because he'll always be in my dreams, so that would be kind of like weird if I didn't marry him, because he's always gonna be there all the time.
Yeah.
Figure might as well just make my life with him.
The longevity, right? Yeah.
But he's so abusive. He calls you the B word sometimes.
No, I can fix him.
Maybe he's into that. But you both are wrong. Kill all of those and just go for Norman Bates. Because have you seen the Bates house?
No.
I'm gonna marry Patrick Bateman.
That wasn't on the list.
Roll the intro.
She just said Patrick Bateman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Nat One podcast, aka Nope, because nope, you're not gonna want to hear what we're about to have to say. I'm Pertusik.
I'm Levi.
And I'm Jordan. I said Norman Bates.
Send to potato pistachio.
Mustachio? Pringles can?
The intro has already rolled. There could be an argument for several
Play
other.
It again.
No, I will not. There could be an argument for several other horror antagonists.
True. Now it's happened to you, Levi. The intro rolled. We came back and you did the intro.
Okay.
You're not devastated?
Be upset.
Anyway, welcome everybody. It's still spooky month. Roll the spooky intro.
It's the spooky month. We don't have a spooky intro.
Oh.
Just play the clip of Senior Palo saying it's spooky month.
I'm just gonna play the song backwards.
Oh my gosh, reverse track.
in a minor key.
I'll get Taryn on that right now.
Anyway. Today we're here to talk about media horror stuff, movies and TV shows that are scary and have scary things. Exactly. We opened up with slashers. Let's stick with slashers for a little bit, shall we?
Hell yeah.
I hardly know her.
Just like the movies.
That's one of the first times I've made a her joke that's actually had a her word in it.
Oh my god, on the way to Ren Fair, he kept doing it to signs that made no sense.
Well, shoot. What's the famous Vine one? Road work ahead. I hardly know her. We're starting with some slashers. We talked about the big ones already. Michael Myers of Halloween fame. Except for that one Halloween in the middle where it didn't have anything to do with Michael Myers, but still people think it's like one of the best movies of Halloween. Freddy Krueger of Nightmare on Elm Street fame. Ooh. and Jason Voorhees of Friday the
Of Squid
13th.
Game.
Whoa. I always want to call the movie that Jason's from, what's it called? Like Camp Crystal. Lake Crystal.
Yeah, I think so.
I always want to call it that instead of Friday the 13th.
It would make more sense.
Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street tells you where it is. Halloween tells you
No.
when it is.
No.
Friday the 13th?
Except, isn't there a Halloween that's not on Halloween?
No.
Do you take place on Halloween? Have you took place on Halloween? Will you take
Yes.
place on Halloween?
Maybe. No.
When will you take place on Halloween?
Cue Michael Myers just breathing into the mic. Yeah. Those are some of the big ones. What do you guys think about those big ones?
I'm a bad film major. I actually have not watched most of those.
OMG, what the heck?
I like Nightmare on Elm Street, and I know enough about. I think I've seen Halloween. I have not seen Friday the 13th.
Whoa.
Yeah.
If I were a film major, I would also be a bad film major because I
Whoa.
haven't watched any of those.
I'm in a room of fakers right now. Am I the only
horror
one?
is not my horror.
I have
okay,
osmosis information about them, but I have never seen the actual movies.
I
What
have
the heck?
extensively studied horror. I am not big on watching a lot of horror. That being said, the horror movies that I have watched, I do enjoy. I'm just a big baby.
I've just never had the opportunity to watch them. Like,
Nightmare on Elm Street is fun.
I'll be honest with you. I watched not all of them. I watched a lot of all of them. I just haven't watched like Jason Takes Manhattan. Or was it? I think there's also
he
like
does?
yes. I believe there's also like Jason in Space. I think it's like Friday the 13th
What?
11 or something like that. Yeah. I didn't bother watching that one.
Spacing.
You space and I don't know, black hole V's. But I didn't watch some of those. But I watched most of the Halloween franchise. In fact, I might have watched all of it. And same for Nightmare on Elm Street, including Freddy versus Jason.
The most dynamic crossover event.
I'll be honest, I think more or less those films are pretty boring.
Yeah, I like the way that modern slashers have turned. Like, used to be really gross. I don't like early 90s and 2000s slashers, but in more recent years they've been making horror comedies out of slashers, and I really like that trend because I think they're very good movies.
Yeah. I just think the way they were before just wasn't quite scary because it didn't seem real. It felt too movie-y. But they are kind of funny to watch if you like, because they did such a good job of having like really hateable characters, and then you get to watch them get killed brutally. It's almost like watching Final Destination, Levi.
That's the fun part. Slashers have the best breakdown of like horror movie character archetype stereotypes. And so it's really fun to watch and break down, and it gets to the point where you can predict the order in which people are going to die based on their character archetype. And that's one of my favorite things to do with the slasher movies that I do watch, of like, oh, he hit the criteria, he's next. Like,
yeah, I just like them because they're funny to laugh at most of the time. Not super scary, although they did. I mean, their names to this day. If we go over and look at our good friend Dead by Daylight, one of the most popular games out there right now. It's got Freddy and it's got Michael Myers, but not Jason, because they decided to make Friday the 13th a game instead and not sell the rights. And it performed horribly.
But we did get that funny meme out of it.
Yeah.
The California Girls meme.
I also got to see some really funny, buggy edits from like its first beta. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going on with them, except for they're just out there. I guess Freddy Krueger was cool because he was like dreams. But
but in my mind, okay, this is always my question for the question of like, if you had to have like a horror movie antagonist chasing you for 24 hours, and if you survived, you got like $1 million or something, I would always say Freddy, because I could reliably make myself stay awake for 24 hours. And even if you don't, I feel like it is easy enough to beat Freddy. Like, I just don't be a weak ass bitch.
Hey, no, he's pretty tough. You just got to know his weakness.
Yeah.
So it depends on whether or not you get that knowledge or not. But I don't know. Freddy seems like the right choice, but also I'm sitting here like I could probably easily handle Jason and Michael as well for 24 hours only.
I will just constantly stay in motion.
Exactly. They both just kind of walk at you.
They slow walk so much.
Yeah, I think only in like the second to newest Halloween movie, I think what was it called, like Halloween Kills was the newest one. The one before that, they showed Michael driving. That's the first time in the entire franchise he's been shown driving. But prior to that, they just walk at you. So if I just drive for like a day, the only chance they'll get me is when I'm getting gas.
Also, going back to the Norman Bates, I feel like Norman Bates would be pretty easy to overwhelm. Like, you could pretty easily overpower Norman Bates and escape.
Oh, for sure. Now, I'll admit, I haven't watched any of that show, the motel show.
Oh, I haven't watched Bates Motel, but I've watched Psycho quite a few times.
Yeah. See, I have watched Psycho, but I haven't watched the Bates Motel, so I don't know anything about, like, because I'm pretty sure they turned him into a Tumblr sexy man. If I'm not
a little
mistaken.
bit. I don't know how canon Bates Motel is though, because like it takes place. It is Norman Bates and Norma Bates, but it takes place in modern times, so it's the same. It's weird. They did the weird thing that like Umbrella Academy and Series of Unfortunate Events did, where like the time period is ambiguous. So like. It looks like it takes place in modern day, but also it could be some weird pinpoint in time where technology is stagnant. It's odd.
Yeah, 1836. That's exactly my guess. Final answer.
Yeah.
No. That's all I can really think about slashers right off the top of my head, but there's so many more genres to talk about. And there's like also several other slashers. Like
we've got like the newer genre of slashers too.
We could talk about American Psycho, which is more like a fight club to me than it is anything else, because it's all that one's more
trippy. It's more like what do you even want to call that? It makes you question yourself rather than the actual movie, because it's unreliable narrator is the entire movie.
WTF is going on movie.
Yeah.
Oh, there was one that I watched just recently called Tragedy Girls that was like a really, really recent release.
That's what you told me to watch.
It was a really good movie. It definitely, like, I don't want to say it freaked me out, because that's the thing. Slashers don't necessarily freak me out as much, because usually they have like a pretty clear defined ending. It's usually the paranormal stuff that like keeps me up at night. But Tragedy Girls was really good. The story was really well written, and they had some really creative deaths in there too. That was nice, that it wasn't just like senseless gore. There was some like actually good creative violence in there, and it was not what I was expecting going into it, but I enjoyed it very, very much.
Truing. I'll have to give it a watch. I forgot what the name of the one was when you told me it. I remember now.
It's very cool. For audience purposes, Tragedy Girls came out in it was either 2017 or 2018. It is about two teenage girls that run a true crime podcast who are serial killers, and they're determined to like make their first big kill and be noticed before they go to college. It's their last year of high school, and so like that's their big thing, is they want to make it as serial killers before they graduate high school. It's a very fun movie.
Now let me think. When I think about like a modern slasher, there's two movies that come to mind that I doubt either of you have watched. Have either of you watched the movie Creep?
No.
Nope.
Have you heard of the movie Creep?
I think so.
The title sounds familiar, yeah.
It was either a late 2000s or early 2010s movie. Came out. I'm pretty sure it was made with a budget of less than $500.
All the best ones are.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. Now, I don't know if this fits into the film definition of a modern slasher, but as far as I'm concerned, it is.
Creep 2?
They did come out with Creep 2 as well.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm imagining the poster in my head, but I'm having trouble recalling what I've seen the summary about it.
It's just really good. It's just, see, the thing with me about why slashers, the old ones, aren't scary at all is because you're like, this is a movie. This is clearly a movie. I'm watching a movie. Creep kind of circumvents that by doing footage.
Yeah, I'm looking at the trailer for it right now.
It makes it seem much more visceral. Yeah. Also, you have no idea what's going on most of the time because it is from such a limited perspective. Because the premise is set just like a guy is pretty much getting like an Airbnb, or he's doing some filming for this other guy who wants to like make a movie. That's his last dying wish. He wants to make a movie. but he's acting like a real weirdo. He's kind of acting like a creep.
Roll credits.
Yeah. Spoilers for the movie Creep. But as it goes on, he keeps doing very strange, weird behavior, and it turns out he's actually just like a professional serial killer that lures people to his house, and then he kills them, and he has collections of several movies of them that he's killed them, and it's really super visceral. The ending is especially striking because like he's been trying to get away from this guy, and the guy keeps tracking him down after all this time, and eventually he gets a note from him. He's like, meet me at this park, and we're gonna put this all behind us. It's gonna be all over and done. We're not gonna talk anymore. I'll stop stalking you. It'll be over. So the guy goes there to the park, sits on a bench, and he has his camera rolling in his like car's dash, and it's just centered on him on the bench. And then you just watch in silence after a few minutes as the other guy, the creep, comes up behind him with an axe and just buries it in his head.
Is it one of those where like he dies and the camera just keeps rolling because he can't go and stop it?
Yeah.
I love
and
it.
It's silent. You can just barely hear the thud of the axe.
Wonderful.
And then the guy takes the camera and he just go like, either this was in the first movie or it was in the second one. The second one continues to follow the creep, so it becomes less of a horror at that point, in my opinion.
Oh, it's like Devil's Rejects.
But either in the first one or in the second one, he talks about, he was like, I can't believe that you actually stayed and like let me kill you. Like you knew what was going to happen. At no point did he say, I'm going to kill you at the park. But he was just like, you were smart enough to know I was going to kill you in the park. I can't believe you actually stayed there with your back turned and let me just kill you.
Yeah, that's a reasonable reaction.
So Creep is very creepy. The other one that I was
Whoa!
of, I know. I actually can't remember the name of it, but it's like a documentary or a mockumentary style of a serial killer.
Blair Witch Project.
Definitely not. But it's really silly. Because it's a movie about like these people that are like recording a serial killer who is like a typical slasher, wears the mask, chases people down, all that stuff. And they're recording him and interviewing him, and he seems like just a normal dude. And he's taking them through the process. Like he's like, look, there's my target. That's the girl. You can tell she's unpopular and stuff. So that's why I'm going to kill her last, or she's going to survive. These are her friends, and this is who I'm picking out. Now we're going to follow them to the library late at night, and I'm going to knock some books down. This is an essential part of my process. Like he was like, this is all the greats do this. Like it's a really funny thing. However, halfway through it morphs and becomes a horror movie because now the documentary staff are trying to stop him from killing the people while they're staying late at night at an abandoned house. And now they're part of the victims. And it turns out that the person filming the documentary was his true target all along, and she becomes the survivor girl. It's really funny.
The term is final girl.
The girl that is in is the last one.
Last of Us 2.
Yeah, Among Us.
In the name of Jamie Lee Curtis.
But yeah, it's very funny show to watch because you're also like, what the heck? Now it's a real slasher movie. And it is a real slasher movie. I can't remember the name of it is though. People will help me figure it out. It's literally, it's something called like The Interview with So-and-so, or like the documentary of so-and-so. It's like someone's name. That's what I think of when I think of modern slashers. You guys got any more points about slashers before we move on to the next genre?
I mean, there are so many. Like we talking, Blumhouse has been doing a lot of them lately. That seems to be a lot. Because they did both Happy Death Days ? Was that Blumhouse or was that A24?
No, those were definitely Blumhouse.
And then they also did Freaky, was a really fun one. That was the body swap dark horror comedy. Was a very entertaining. It was like obviously set up for a sequel, but I'm kind of fine with it because it was a really fun movie to watch. I could go on for a while about current slashers and media and things like that.
Yeah, Blumhouse is always releasing just bad horror movies, but it's fine.
I like Blumhouse movies.
No, they're bad. Take it from someone that watches an insane amount of horror movies. They're always the bottom of the barrel.
I find them wildly entertaining.
Depends on the one, but most of the time they're not scary. They might be funny. I'll give them that.
So that might be why I like them, because they're my level scary.
Yeah.
Oh, they did Halloween Ends.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what else. They're no A24, that's for sure, but I don't like A24 either. All right, here's my hot topic. This is if there's anything that I have super controversial opinions about, it's horror movies and horror movie companies. So this is where I get lambasted in the comments.
Oh yeah, please tear him apart.
Yeah.
Because he's right.
No, go defend A24 and Blumhouse.
They're both bad. One's pretentious and one's bad at making things scary.
Okay, but pretentious is good at times.
But it's not scary.
That's what you think.
That's what I know. I go into a horror movie expecting to be scared, not like taught a life lesson.
What?
That's why
horror is the friends we made along the way.
You don't want to play the sequel to the hit game Outlast and the entire thing just be a giant metaphor that humans can't protect themselves and only God can protect them.
Okay, but like the fragility of human life is the best aspect of horror. That's why we're gonna start an argument on this.
Thing is, you're right, but it's got to be scary. You can say, "Look how easily this person died," but if it's not scary, I'm not scared.
That's exactly why people didn't like Outlast 2.
Yeah, that's how I feel about those. Now, the only good horror director is Jordan Peele. I will accept no questions.
That I love. Have you seen the trailer for the new? It's a kids horror movie and it's stop motion and it's Jordan Peele and Henry Selick, and I'm so excited for it.
No.
I
did see that Jordan Peele is meeting with Hideo Kojima recently, which makes me excited. Finally, he's going back to his roots. He's making the next Silent Hill game at long last. I hope that's true.
Been 84 years.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. They posted that on Twitter. It was them in a Zoom meeting together. And Jordan Peele tweeted it first and said, like, met with a legend today. And it was Jordan Peele and Hideo Kojima. And I was like, oh my gosh. Silent Hill time. But
Tish.
Huh?
You said but
Oh, thank you. And now let's talk about some paranormal horror.
That's the stuff that makes me cry.
That's the stuff that's closest to getting me, but I built up a big tolerance to it over the years. Because it's a little bit predictable now.
Yeah, paranormal horror are the ones that don't get me very well. I don't know what it is about them. They just don't spook me.
They used to for me, but not so much anymore.
It depends on what it is. Like the first Paranormal Activity freaks me out, but the fourth one, no.
Yeah, I think the first and second Paranormal Activity are they were pretty scary, but you know, after you've watched them once, you're set.
I think the original and the best is Poltergeist, and Poltergeist is like where the bar is, and it's kind of hard to go up from there because I love Poltergeist.
Yeah. Poltergeist, it definitely jumped the shark. That's for sure. Got to a point. If we just make big flashy scenes with thunder sound effects, it's really scary, guys. I promise they won't laugh at us.
The special effects in Poltergeist are so good, though.
Good, but not scary.
I found Poltergeist scary, but also again, big baby. But like anything involving small children, I'm like, no.
I've never watched Poltergeist.
It's good.
It's all right. It's a famous name. They're here.
It's kind of that's the famous line. It also kind of there is a certain element. I find Poltergeist entertaining and kind of scary, but like when you start making the ghost do party tricks for you, I feel like that's the point where you're like, maybe we should leave. Because it's whenever I don't remember, she's like making things move in the kitchen, and instead of like running screaming from the house, she's like, hey, come look at this, it's like moving. And I'm like, oh, you stupid dumb idiot.
They were still figuring out things back then. Of course, every paranormal horror movie hits the roadblock, which is when the things start to happen, why don't they run away?
That's one of the things that is kind of hard. It kind of like all things have to have a certain element of suspension of disbelief to work, but paranormal horror does tend to toe that line very, very
See, I think that they usually just do it badly because they're limited creatively. I think that every writer for a paranormal activity, or not paranormal activity, but a paranormal movie, I think you're bad. I think I would do your job better. No, I'm kidding. Too many hot takes.
I mean, you just really have to have, and this isn't something that you see very often, you have to have a reason for them not to be able to leave the house. And a lot of things, it's like you've had every opportunity to leave before it got to this point. and so there's no reason why you should still be here.
The super, super core problem is the fact that every ghost in every ghost movie ever doesn't start by just killing them.
Yeah.
Which it should. If we're going by actual logic, if the ghost is like, I want you out of here, it would probably just kill them.
Phasmophobia
never-
type heat.
Yeah.
It's always like an hour of them knocking books down. Or doing something creepy, like pulling the covers off and then twisting the cross upside
Maybe
down.
the ghost doesn't want to kill people, Pertusa. It just wants them to leave, so it does the only thing it can.
See,
That's
I feel like
the
that's
worst.
a different movie though, because I feel like to do that you can't just have like the invisible force that's doing things in the house. I feel like that turns from horror to maybe more of a drama as you watch this character have to break down their morals and things, and you would kind of see the side of like what the ghost is going through and like how they're affected by having this family in their house. And I feel like then it doesn't become horror anymore.
Yeah.
It becomes more of a character study.
Literally every single paranormal horror movie I've seen where the ending is, look, the ghost was just a good person. Really? Every single one of those, I hated the ending. Because it's like, yeah, this ghost that was scaring you to death and took on this horrifying visage, it was actually just a kind old grandmama. And you see that in like the last scene. It reflects how they actually looked. And it's like, OMG, that's me.
Yeah, when they did the dang, Until Dawn, and then now it's got its sequel games.
Oh, there was Man of Medan.
Yeah, Man of Medan, which literally, spoilers for Man of Medan, although it's regarded as very bad, so I don't think anyone cares. The entire premise of Man of Medan is you go onto a haunted ship, but because the games like can be co-op, how it works is the entire storyline when you're on the haunted ship is the other player just takes on the visage of the terrifying ghost and chases you around because the person's character is like, why are you running from me? What's wrong? The entire time. And the other character's just like, the entire time.
Yes, the Until Dawn people do a great. What was the newest one they did was actually
the newest
pretty
one
good.
was really good, actually. It was I don't remember what it's called, but it's the Iraq War, and veterans get trapped in like an underground tomb with vampires and stuff, and it was actually really good.
Not just that, I was talking about the new camp one they did.
Oh,
there was another one that was a lot like Until Dawn.
I have not seen that one. I have no idea.
It was really good. It had to do with werewolves. It was a lot like the original Until Dawn, but I forgot what the name of it was. But anyway, we'll get to games here in a second.
I just realized the movie that I described is just The Sixth Sense.
True.
It really is.
Yeah, which I never. Well, no, I did watch The Sixth Sense, but I already had it spoiled for me when it happened, so it didn't hit me nearly as hard as it did people when it first came out in theaters.
I feel like it's really hard not to spoil that one anymore because it's such a pop culture marker that it's impossible not to know the end of that movie.
I don't know the end of Sixth Sense.
Well,
okay,
you see Levi.
All right. No, he's safe. He can watch it and maybe enjoy it.
Yeah. I still think it's enjoyable because I like to look back and see all the Easter eggs that are in there before the twist.
True. It's one of those ones where I feel like it's got a limited view time of twice, maybe 3 times after several years. But anyway, back on paranormal. The other thing that gets me is the way that people deal with it every time. When they've decided there's a paranormal entity, we can't leave the house, or it is following us, or whatever. Like, we have to deal with it. It's almost,
Who are you gonna call?
Saul Goodman. No. Your Honor, my client clearly owns the house.
We order the ghost to vacate.
Okay, but Ghostbusters is excellent. I will not be taking criticism on Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters theme mashup.
There you go.
I
Saul
wanna hear it
Goodman
now.
reinvigorates the Ghostbusters.
Saul Goodman joins Ghostbusters, but it's just Saul Goodman, Mike Ehrmantraut, Gus Fring, and Walter White.
Oh my gosh. Breaking Ghosts. Jordan isn't pleased.
No, because I just have a very deep love for the original Ghostbusters.
Walter, put the ghost trap down, Walter. We're catching this ghost, Walter.
No, Mike. I am. I can't even. Okay. But no, my problem is how they deal with the ghosts. Okay. The worst way I've ever seen a movie deal with ghosts is The Nun. Oh my gosh. So
Never watched it.
bad. Spoilers for The Nun, I guess, but that was one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen in my life. So after they realize that there are ghosts haunting the nunnery, which is not called that,
The convent?
yeah, that place. And they've learned that there's a nun, an evil demon nun haunting the place. They send two priests, or a priest and a nun, go to check it out, and they're trying to deal with it, and they're doing like the thing that they always do, where they're like ever since The Exorcist, they do the prayers and they do the holy water and stuff, and that doesn't work. It's not strong enough, which also I hate that in movies all the time.
I hate that too.
Look, the one thing that we have dealt with in society and decided is good against the ghosts, it doesn't work on this one.
It doesn't work actually.
Yeah, but what's even worse is that in The Nun, you know what did end up hurting and killing and beating the nun ghost? A literal shotgun. Not a special blessed shotgun.
Is it full of rock salt?
Nope, just bullets.
Listen, I've watched like 12 seasons of Supernatural. I'm pretty sure that's not how that works.
The nun and the father, the priest that are there at the place trying to beat the ghost, they can't do it. And then the guy that brought them there, which we haven't seen in like an hour, who was just like the local expert, shows up and is like, I knew you were in trouble, so I brought my shotgun, and shoots the ghost. Boom, bang, Bob's your uncle. It's done. Movie's over. Go home now.
I hate it.
Like I said, one of the worst horror movies I've seen in my life. It was really funny to laugh at. Literally, I was in the theater watching that, and the whole audience kept laughing at it several times. That's how you know you failed at making something scary. Is when the audience is laughing. But got a lot of money because they're making a sequel. So
maybe
my hatred for that aside.
Maybe they meant to make it like funny and not good.
Well, they definitely didn't, is the thing. But I wouldn't be surprised at this rate if they're like, we're giving up on making scary things. We just make money now. The Conjuring universe went down hard after like the second Conjuring.
Annabelle.
Yeah.
Oh, don't even talk about the Annabelle movies.
The new ones weren't very good.
The first one was bad. The second one was all right. The third one was worse.
Ow.
What?
Wait, which one's the one that came out most recently?
The third
Creation.
Yeah, I know the third one is the one that came out most recently produced, but I was asking for the subtitle.
I think it was Annabelle Creation.
That was the second one.
Or was it
Annabelle
the second one?
Comes Home or something like that was the third one.
Creation was the only one out of all of them that I've gone to see, which is interesting because producer said it was okay. It literally, I was stone-faced the entire movie. It was not. Also, the second one does the thing. It does the thing of like, oh yeah, but actually, God and religion, that doesn't hurt ghosts. Even though that's the only thing we all collectively agree on as a society. Like it does. That's the thing too. Is like I wouldn't care if it wasn't Christianity either. Just like it's collectively agreed upon, typically that some kind of religion is the counterbalance.
Yeah.
And they had the spoilers for Annabelle Creation, if you want, like
the closet or the hidden room.
Yeah, they had there was that, and there was also the entire scene where the dang dad goes into I'm thinking of the one where they're on the farmhouse.
Is it really old school?
All of them?
I don't remember.
Annabelle Creation is when the Annabelle doll was made, and it's like the early 1900s, and it's like an adoption house where a bunch of orphans live.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe I have seen two of them.
Maybe. Annabelle Comes Home happens at the house of the protagonists of the Conjuring universe. I forget their names.
The Warrens.
They're older?
They're not super old, no. It's in the house with all their other haunted items, and Annabelle makes them all come to life.
Yes, I've seen that one, but I'm talking about the one that's before it, which is Creation.
Yes, which is super old, yeah.
Yeah. But there's a scene where the whole demon thing's happening.
Mm-hmm. In the farm. Yeah, I remember.
Yes,
that. Yeah,
and
barn.
the dad goes in there with a literal fucking crucifix. Pardon my French. A crucifix. And he goes into the room with the demon, and what does the demon do? It breaks his fingers.
Yeah, it's like they're going like
so that he just drops it. And it's like, no, does nothing.
And notice how the two things, the one that used the literal shotgun and the one that broke the man's fingers, were both in the same cinematic universe.
That
So
makes
you're
a little bit
telling
more
me if
sense.
the dad would have went in there with a M1911 and shot the demon, it would have worked.
Thanks, Conjuring. You've established new canon for how to deal with ghosts.
Yeah.
Uh,
Although, no, this is what makes me more upset is in the next movie, I specifically remember this made me upset because I remembered it from the first, not the first one, but from Creation. They do that again in the
And it
house.
works.
The little girl presses a crucifix against the face of the demon and it works. It burns the demon. And it
super
freaks
inconsistent.
out.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
it's a touch spell.
This is
It's not ranged. It doesn't work with range.
or something, I guess.
It's like
Yeah,
basically he like cast inflict wounds while being 30 feet away from the
that
ghost.
inconsistency made me really upset. Hey, there's a feat for that.
There's-
There's a feat that can make that
He
range.
didn't have the feet.
I'm
He
pretty
didn't
sure
have
he
the
had at
fingers,
least two
Jordan.
kid
He
named
didn't
Finger.
have the meta magic adapt.
But yes, that's my hate for the Conjuring. We kind of went off on Conjuring universe there for a little bit.
There is not a single Conjuring movie that's good. Change my
I
mind.
think
No.
the first one is good. The first one, at
I've
least,
never
and
seen the
second
first one, so
Second one's not bad either, because that was the one that's in Britain. So it's really funny, in my opinion. Funny but good. There's one moment that was really scary.
props to them for inventing Britain, though. Like that's
Right?
if that place was real in real life.
Actually,
like,
I'm pretty sure Harry Potter invented Britain.
No, they
No!
invented hogworms or something like that.
yeah, no, the Conjuring invented Britain. They just took Hogwarts and put it in the fake place that the
Mm.
Conjuring
Fake
made.
Britain?
Just like J.K. Rowling to piggyback off of someone else's work.
Exactly.
Piggyback? Hogworms? Makes a
Hogwarts.
lot.
It
This
all
podcast
comes
does
back
not
to
support J.K.
Hogwarts.
Rowling. Fuck J.K.
Mm.
Rowling.
This podcast does
I would
support
never.
Hogwarts.
No! Oh, I thought you were gonna say does support J.K. Rowling, and I was gonna like scream at you. No,
There's
we do
something.
not.
There's something I was gonna say about that as well. Oh yeah, I've read all the books. I don't know why I'm doing the like Hogworms or something like that. I read all the books and watched all the movies. So
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I just fucking hate J.K. Rowling.
yeah, I didn't. I'm not a super fan. I just read it in my childhood, and I was one of the people that didn't walk away with it as a personality trait.
I did, unfortunately.
I read some of the books
Oh.
and watched some of the movies, but not all of them. But I still know most of the story, I think.
But this isn't the Harry Potter episode.
Hey, there's some creepy stuff in Harry Potter.
There
Actually,
is.
true. More than The Conjuring.
Yeah.
This is not the Harry Potter episode.
True. Okay. So that's. I mean, there's more we could talk about paranormal, but let's switch it up. Let's talk about some video games for a minute. Let's talk about some horror video game stuff.
Video game.
Because I'll admit, we talked about in the last episode, the big problem with me with D&D is it doesn't feel real enough for me. I can't get scared because I can't entirely imagine it.
Yeah.
I'm imagination deficient.
Yeah.
Playing horror video games is incredibly terrifying for me. It's very hard for me to
Same.
do.
Oh yeah.
It's-
Oh, yeah.
Same. Weirdly enough, strangely enough, I have
Mhm.
found VR reverses it for me. VR
Really?
horror, I'm completely fine. And I don't know why. Because
It-
I've played a couple horror games and if I play it on my PC, I'm just like, drop
Mhm.
it, done. I played Resident Evil 7 in VR.
Mhm.
And the entire time I was like taking a nonchalant stroll, but it might have also been because I had seen people play Resident Evil 7, so I knew what was going to happen
Mhm.
at the same time. But I thought that the VR might have taken me out of that because it's VR, so I was like there, but it
Yeah.
didn't. So
What is the scariest game you've played, Levi?
I don't play a lot, so it's been a long time since I've like sat down and played
Mhm.
a horror game of my own free will.
Yeah, same.
I don't know, honestly.
I haven't played that many, but the ones that have scared me that I actually played are stuck in my head forever.
Yeah, no, I think I've done the opposite where they've scared me, so I've just removed them from my head forever.
What about you, Jordan? You ever play a horror scary game?
Yes. This is gonna sound like a really dumb answer, but I do have a reason for it. I think the scariest horror game that I have ever played is the original desktop Slender game.
That's pretty scary.
Because it really freaked me out. And where we live is surrounded by woods.
Yeah.
And so like there's just a little bit of like, well, and we used to play Slender in the woods. Fun fact from our childhood.
Mhm.
I don't remember if you guys played it with us or not. I feel like you did at some point.
I did.
We had friends that had woods surrounding their property because they lived out in the middle of nowhere. And we would play real life Slender. Somebody would go out into the trees and pin pages everywhere, and somebody would be Slender. It was basically flashlight tag, but with the added layer of like, ooh, it's scary and there's monsters, and that scared the shit out of me. So yeah, Slender still freaks me out pretty bad.
Sometimes when we would do stuff like that, but like when we were in high school, we had a pretty big circle that would come over, and we would do stuff like tag and infected. For people that don't know what infected is, just tag,
we did
but
infected, yeah.
it's just tag. But when you tag someone, you're still it. So it's like Call of Duty Zombies, where more people keep going until you get to the last person, pretty much. And like a horde is after you. But like we would do it in the dead of night.
It was terrifying.
Southern Ohio, in the middle of the woods. And like sometimes, like when you get towards the end of that and you're not one of the it people and you're not with other people because everyone else is looking for you, and you gotta hide in the woods by yourself, and like you're paranoid because you're trying to think who's coming to get you, so you're listening for every pin drop sound. But then you start hearing things that you're like, that doesn't sound like a person. What is that? Like stuff like that. Ooh.
It's terrifying. I hated being like one of the last people in infected, because it's just like, I'm A, afraid because my friends are going to jump scare me, and B, afraid because there's something else out here that might also kill me, whether it's a coyote or something worse.
Let me think. There are two games that I played that terrified me the most. Honestly, Phasmophobia, first time I played it a little bit. The next times I played it, me memeing with Levi, I'm going to try and open the door and let it get us while he's screaming, no, don't.
Well.
But no, the two that got me, so, I mean, you know, I'm kind of like a YouTube kid. That's what I walked away with as my personality, is watching YouTubers. Ever since like middle school. So the big horror game that every YouTuber played back then, what was it called?
Amnesia.
No, we'll get to that. No, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. That was the one that every old YouTuber played.
I had to analyze that for a film class.
Did you?
Yeah, for soundscaping, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's horrifying.
Yeah, the sound of Amnesia is really but eventually, after having watched it several times, so I knew what to expect because it's a scripted game, I decided to get it, and I started playing it one day, and oh my gosh, I could not play that game for very long. I was walking, I was just doing like the basic stuff. The minute the candles went out and it was dark and I had to use my lantern, immediately I was already like, I will only progress 1 inch per minute because I am too scared. And then like the first time I get hit by one of the little flesh globules that pop up and like do damage to you, and it does like the sharp, like bright red screen with a sound effect of something stabbing you, I swear I screamed in real life. And I never even made it to the first monster encounter because I was too scared. I couldn't do it.
You know what we should do is like a special, and that one's special.
What?
One of us needs to get Outlast, and we all need to sit in a room together and like turn all the lights off.
Play Hot Seat Outlast.
And we play Hot Seat Outlast, the first Outlast, because that's the one that's
one's
really
scary.
Terrifying.
I'll cry.
That one's actually good.
There will be video footage of me crying on the Nat One channel.
Yay!
No.
People love tears. They eat them.
No, it'll be people getting really mad at me because I try to play the game with my eyes closed.
Jordan's Hot Seat takes 3 seconds, and then she has to swap with someone.
No, people love that though. People love watching people play horror games because you get to see them get really scared.
Oh yeah.
The other one that really got me was Five Nights at Freddy's. No cap.
I used to get really freaked out by that, especially the jump scares, because jump scares get me every time.
I got it back when it was like still happening and popular. I played it once, got jump scared once, and I was like, I can't play this anymore.
The second one got me even worse because the second one has a puppet in it. Every time the puppet freaked me out really bad.
Jordan and her dolls.
That's why I can't watch Annabelle. I don't like dolls.
Yeah.
Maybe Annabelle will help you get over your fear of dolls because it's so bad.
No, I am
really funny.
No, okay. I'm less afraid of the like depiction of the doll in the movie. I am very afraid of the actual Annabelle.
Yeah, that's true. That's
because
actually
it's terrifying.
Yeah, real Annabelle is much more frightening than fake Annabelle.
Real fake Annabelle.
Real fake Annabelle. No, those are the two games that stuck with me forever, and that's what's pretty much made me stop, never ever play horror games ever again. Is because I played Amnesia and Five Nights at Freddy's, and both times were so frightening to me. I couldn't recover. I couldn't. Still Phasmophobia, which it wasn't so bad because it was with friends.
See, I don't find the newer FNAFs as scary, but the original
Oh, no.
FNAFs are still pretty. They hold up pretty well.
I think it's like the effect has almost kind of worn off because there's so many of them now that everyone's used to the FNAF stuff.
Well, and also since like everybody knows all the lore and the story stuff now, because back when it was just the first game and it was like haunted Chuck E. Cheese animatronics are trying to eat your face. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, and no offense, no, we're not going to toss too much shade here because I know there's a hot issue and a big fandom. But the new Security Breach is really not scary. It's much.
I don't find the animatronics as scary.
The animatronics don't seem as scary, and
it was the first one that the creator didn't work on.
True, that was made by Steel Wool Studios. No, they did a fine job, but it was not. It was
also like horribly rushed.
It was really rushed.
Just goes to show, don't rush your games.
I believe there was a famous game developer that once said, if a game comes out bad, it is bad forever. But if you wait for a long time to make a good game, it will be good forever.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Ooh,
which
like
isn't
Bendy.
true anymore. Bendy's a fine one.
Bendy's a fun one.
Yeah. That's another one that's got a huge internet following and has turned many of the characters into sexy men and women.
Yeah.
Not just Tumblr sexy men and women, everything sexy men and women.
No, I think that's more of a Reddit sexy men and women, which is worse.
We did it, Reddit.
Yeah. It's not bad. I didn't play through it, but I watched people do the playthroughs because it was kind of popular, like Five Nights at Freddy's, where people are like, look at the lore. Though.
I just really like the art style.
The art style, yeah. It reminded me of the old creepypastas back in the day of like the one with Mickey Mouse. I don't know if I can say the name of, but it was really creepy. Or the one with Squidward, which another one I can't say the name of.
I'm Squidward.
Creepypastas got me back in the day. That's not really movies and TV shows.
Oh, I was really afraid of creepypastas. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the Russian sleep experiment.
Oh, we don't talk about the Russian. That kept me up at night.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Which is probably not a good thing. I should have been like very eager to sleep after that one, but like that one freaked me out.
Story time. All right. Like way back in like middle school era, when I was friends with some of the other people, like the people that are closer with TJ. You might know who I'm talking about. The other guy that I used to always hang out with TJ and me. We call him Turtle. If you're listening, Turtle, please come home. I miss you. But back in like middle school, at like a sleepover I had at my house, which you guys know where my house is. It's pretty out there. It's pretty empty out there. It's just field and hills. So one night, he and I alone, Turtle and I, we stayed up way later than anybody else. We were back to back reading creepypastas because we wanted to read creepypastas. Everyone else was asleep around us. We both just wanted to read them. Then we found out neither of us could go to sleep because we were so terrified. And and it was a dark room. We had to have the lights off because my parents were sleeping.
Yeah.
So he and I were like, okay, I'm so scared something's going to kill me from behind or get me. So we're gonna just be back to back while we read these to each other.
True friends.
Until the daylight comes through the window.
That's honestly completely reasonable.
And we actually did that. We stayed up reading creepypastas until the daylight shone through the windows. Oh my gosh, it was terrifying. The one that got me then was I think it was called like Ansel's Goat Man or something like that. It was pretty much like one of the first Skinwalker stories that hit creepypastas.
Oh.
Yeah. The thing that got me.
Still a thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Still around.
I think they've kind of transited. I think Creepypasta and SCP, those communities are like really similar. There's a lot of overlap.
SCP definitely subsumed Creepypasta in popularity though.
I love the SCP stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, creepypasta, like people making them and them being talked about, is significantly less popular than it used to be, but they're still around. People aren't like posting videos about new game made off of creepypasta anymore.
There's one from September 16th, 2022 that has an average rating of 9.62 called Room for Two.
What was the one that used to freak me out really bad? It was the one about the TV channel. It was like the local TV channel of the guy that kidnapped kids.
Was it like Candle Cove?
I think so.
That's the big one about a TV show with puppets and stuff that scream.
Yeah. Well, no, it was like the guy like would kidnap kids and keep them in his basement, and they were part of the TV show. It scared me real bad when I was younger.
Did it have to do with a bear?
Yes.
Like a bear mascot?
Yes.
Okay, I remember that. I can't remember the name of it, but I know the one you're talking about
It's
now.
like channel something because it was like a local channel. I don't remember what it was. Yeah.
Famous creepypastas.
Yeah,
1999 creepypasta.
That could be a whole other episode. We should do a creepypasta episode at some point. That's just
episode.
I'll cry, but like it'll be entertaining.
Binge Round.
Who could
Hero
forget
Brian. Jeff the Killer.
Oh, I
Classic.
hated Jeff the Killer. That one scared the shit out of me.
Lavender Town Syndrome.
Oh yeah, Lavender Town. That was a classic. That one kind of got me for a bit.
Slenderman. Sonic.exe.
That one's still kicking.
Oh, I love the Sonic one.
Squidward Suicide.
That Levi, you can't say that word on the internet.
Say Squidward.
That's the one that Pertuzit was avoiding saying.
The Rake gets me.
The Rake's a good one.
Oh yeah.
Russian Sleep Experiment.
There's one about Mickey Mouse on there. I forget what it is though.
Tiki Toby.
That's a classic.
What was the one about the kids TV show that like predicted 9/11?
I think that was Candle Cove.
That might have been Candle Cove.
The top rated
that's familiar.
creepypasta of all time is The Suicide Engineer.
I don't know that one.
I don't either. We'll do
That's
another
an SCP.
episode on creepypasta. We can do all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
on internet horror.
I feel like we don't got too
The
much more to
Disneyland
say.
Suicide Pact, is that the one you're talking about, Pertuzit?
No, mine was like Mickey's in the name.
A lot of these just have the word suicide in them.
A very popular trend in creepypastas and analog horror in general. I'm trying to think if there's any other movie stuff we need to talk. I mean, there's plenty
Monster
of
movies. We did not cover monster movies.
We can't. What do you mean by a monster movie?
I mean, like monster movies.
Like what? I don't
like John Carpenter, like anything.
Oh.
I just like a well-designed monster. So like the monster from The Quiet Place, I love that one. John Carpenter's The Thing. There's actually one very specific monster movie that I wanted to talk about. It's based on a book written by Dan Wells, and it is a serial killer movie that turns into a monster movie. And it's wonderful, and the book is incredible, and the movie adaptation is also awesome. It's called I Am Not a Serial Killer by Dan Wells. And it was my favorite book in high school. It's a series, but they only made a movie out of the first one. But it's a serial killer movie that turns into a monster movie, and the monster is played by Christopher Lloyd, and it's wonderful.
I haven't known too many good like monster movies that have scared me. They're kind of like slasher movies. John Carpenter, that's pretty good.
I just like a good monster design.
Yeah, It Chapter 1, pretty good.
Oh, that's both of the It movie. I like Chapter 2.
I did not.
I
thought it was really not scary.
Considering the source material, the second half of the It book is something.
It's rough to adapt that well, no matter what.
Yeah, I think the creative liberties that they took, given the source material, were.
It was better. I still think they fumbled the ball on that one.
Yeah, the first one is definitely the standout.
Yeah. I don't know. I watched that one. What was it, like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark or whatever with Guillermo del Toro?
I watched that one. I needed to watch it, but like those also freaked me the fuck out as a kid. So I was like, do I really need to? I don't think it'll be better if I watch these.
I watched it. I thought the monster designs were cool. I just wasn't scared by it because I don't know. It just wasn't much tension to it. It felt too much like an anthology. Every single thing was like, okay, here's the kid. This is the danger. Kid will die. That's how it went. There was no real tension because it was too predictable. Levi, how do you feel about a good old monster movie?
I don't know. Stuff like The Quiet Place monsters don't get me because of scare, but they get me because of like it's more of a primal fear with those like that because they're just so fast. And it's like it's that early human mindset of being like Predator. Do not like Predator. Stay away from Predator. I don't know. I haven't really watched too many horror monster movies because like John Carpenter's The Thing. I haven't watched the original. I've seen the newer one, which is supposedly very inferior to the original. Because they mostly use CGI for the monster.
Yeah,
And
that's
everyone
a
said, and
tragedy.
apparently that was a thing where it was the producers made them do that because the producers made them do that because the director wanted to use all practical effects in the new one.
Mhm.
Classic.
And the producers were just like, no.
Little producer maneuver right there.
Yeah.
Play the CGI card.
But yeah, no, I honestly I should probably watch the original The Thing because I feel like the practical effects would make it more disgusting and
That's
make
the
it more
best part.
scary.
Yeah.
Than the CGI one because you're like, oh look, it's CGI.
Now, what about this? Is there a monster design you can think of from something that has terrified you purely because of how it looked, its design, or how it operated, or whatever?
I'm trying to think.
I can think of a couple.
I've never seen the movies, but what are they called? I think he's called like Pinhead.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
from
Hellraiser. Yeah.
Yeah, those the guys from that, they scare the crap out of me.
They're pretty spooky.
It's like body gore, but at the same time like
Body horror.
believable body horror. It's like that could be a thing that someone could probably actually do and still survive, but be in immense pain at all times. Yeah, I hate that.
Fun fact, the reason why Pinhead is such an eloquent character is because a lot of his lines were originally written to go to other characters, but they realized with the practical effects and all of the monster makeup, people could not talk. And he was the only one that could still move his face to articulate to speak. And so all of the lines went to Pinhead.
He's also now in Dead by Daylight as well. So
yep.
I think The Fly is a good one that freaked me out just because of design, because The Fly is so gross.
Yeah. You know who got me? It's not from a movie.
You know who else?
Albert Wesker. Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Isn't that crazy? Anyway. No, I'm kidding.
Elaboration, please.
Yes. So he's the newest killer in Dead by Daylight, but not because Dead by Daylight made him, because he's from Resident Evil.
Oh, a lot of the Resident Evil stuff is really freaky.
Yes, and here's the thing. You would love him, Jordan, because he is a hyper-intelligent villain.
Yay.
He pulls all the strings and tries to sabotage the good guys the whole time. And part of the thing that he does, everybody knows you guys know the basic premise of Resident Evil and the T-virus and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And zombies, super zombies. Albert Wesker, although he mostly retains a human form most of the time, is actually infected with some type of the T-virus towards the end. I don't know when it happens exactly because I can't remember all the lore. But he looks like a normal dude. He's a really skilled combatant because he works for the same crew as the good guys. But his whole thing is that he also has the virus. So in Resident Evil 5, which was the first one I played, he's the main big bad, and you beat him in like a shootout first. And then he reveals that he's like half monster, and so he keeps his head, but then like half of his body becomes like the really grotesque, spiraling, spinning flesh bubbles. And now it's a fight of just like you have to make him pop, or else he's gonna squish you. The final battle, it happens in a giant volcano, so it's really cool. But he's terrifying just because he looks so creepy and he thinks creepy. He's one of those smart and like physically terrifying villains as well. I love Albert Wesker. You'll have to look at some of his stuff after this is over. But speaking of which, we're getting pretty close on our time.
No.
Yeah. Which is a shame because we didn't get to talk about any of the Stanley Kubrick stuff, which I would have loved to talk about. I feel like Jordan and I would have argued a lot about that.
Don't want to talk about Kubrick.
And then we also
we didn't talk about Silence of the Lambs either.
Silence of the Lambs.
I don't think we need to talk about Saw.
We should talk a bit about Saw.
No, torture porn bad.
It's also in Dead by Daylight. It's
wait. Let me.
If it's in Dead by Daylight, we have to talk about it.
The first Saw has merit, but beyond that, it is literally just torture porn, and it's disgusting.
I know, but it's frightening.
Because it's gross.
Exactly. There's some merit to that. Or something worth talking about. I will give you the first one because the first one has some very creative kills, and the moral of the first one is important. But it's the whole message of the first one. I mean, I don't want to say message because Saw should not have a message, but the whole point of the first one is lost on the rest of them. This is true. They're not all good
indeed. Because this is your test, Michael. Your test. The entire reason why I brought you here in the first place.
He's doing a Germa bit.
The door is just locked behind you.
Someone has to stop him. He's doing a Germa bit.
You
Stop
thought this was a
it.
tour?
Oh
And-
Our
no.
test begins
I don't
now.
know. Is that the end of the episode? I think that's the end of the episode.
Oh no,
I
it's
know
not
how
scary
much
anymore.
you
It's
don't like
funny.
smelly smells.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the episode you just listened to. If you really like our content, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications on YouTube, and look for us on Spotify. If you'd like to see us continuing to do more fun projects in the future, consider supporting us on Patreon. You can find our page linked in the description above all of our other social media links. And finally, if you'd like to keep up with the zany shenanigans of our lives and check out some more skit-based content and things like that, check us out on Twitter and TikTok, links in the description. And hey, thanks!